According to Shams Charania, the Boston Celtics and Philadelphia 76ers have engaged in trade talks about a potential Ben Simmons deal that could include Jaylen Brown. That's what's coming your way on today's show. But first, we have a little bit of a competition going on between two of our NBA channels here at Chat Sports, Boston Celtics today and Philadelphia 76ers now. We know that Boston and Philadelphia has a historic rivalry between cities, and on the basketball floor, there's that rivalry here at Chat Sports as well. So can Boston Celtics today kind of extend their gap over Philadelphia 76ers now, or can Philadelphia stand up and close the gap on Boston Celtics today? If you want more Celtics coverage, subscribe to Celtics Today. More Sixers coverage, subscribe to 76ers Now, and let's hop into today's show. You're watching NBA Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. Yes, we are early in the 2021-2022 NBA season, but right now, some juicy NBA trade rumors to get to between two rival teams in the Eastern Conference that have a historic rivalry, the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. And of course, these trade discussions do involve Ben Simmons, the Mercurial Star. According to Shams Charania of The Athletic and Stadium, the Celtics have engaged in talks with the Philadelphia 76ers revolving around a potential Ben Simmons trade. According to that report from Shams, a deal for Philadelphia would have to include Jaylen Brown, who's really become one of the fastest growing two-way superstars in the NBA today. Now, Ben Simmons was fined last week by Philadelphia. He has yet to play in a game this season, whereas Jaylen Brown has continued his emergence, and Ben Simmons has been seeking help for some mental health issues that he's dealing with. According to him and his camp, led by Rich Paul, that is why he is away from the team. The Sixers have offered him some mental health guidance. He has refused that and instead gotten mental health help with the NBA Players Association. So let's get you caught up as to the specifics of this report coming from Shams. He said this about the trade talks: the Boston Celtics have engaged in conversations with the 76ers around Ben Simmons and expressed interest in the 6'11" guard, sources tell The Athletic. Talks have been fluid with no traction as of yet, those sources say. Any potential Simmons deal with the Celtics would have to include All-Star forward Jaylen Brown. The three-time All-Star Ben Simmons met with Doc Rivers, co-star Joel Embiid, and the entire team back on October 22nd and informed them that he is not mentally ready to play yet and that he needs time to get his mind right. Currently, the 76ers are testing the validity of Simmons' pursuit of mental health assistance. The 76ers have become increasingly irritated with Simmons' lack of providing further clarity on the matter to them and have threatened to return their daily fines for events that the organization feels he is not participating in, such as games, such as practices, such as shoot-arounds, and strength and conditioning workouts. If I am Daryl Morey, who has some ties to the Boston Celtics organization, and I call up Danny Ainge and I say, yo, we will offer you Ben Simmons straight up for Jaylen Brown. I know that Brown and Tatum aren't getting off to the best start this season, and Danny Ainge says, I'm cool with that deal. I would not hang up the phone until you gave me some paper that I could sign on the dotted line to complete that trade. I think if the Celtics were to trade away Jaylen Brown for Ben Simmons, the overwhelming winner in that trade would be the Philadelphia 76ers, because I believe Jaylen Brown is about as good of a defender as Ben Simmons and a much better offensive player nowadays, considering where the NBA game is right now. So for those of you watching on Boston Celtics Today, 76ers Now, appreciate all of you for making the show a part of your day. Pick one for me between these two all-star players, because both are elite in different categories. Type BS for Ben Simmons, type JB for Jaylen Brown. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's YouTube video. So if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, scroll on down, get your votes in, and by the time you do that, we'll be back. This is really a tale of two different players on two different trajectories who have put in different work to grow their respective games. For Ben Simmons and Jaylen Brown, both selected in the 2016 NBA draft. Ben Simmons number 1 by Philadelphia, Jaylen Brown number 3 by the Boston Celtics. Now, Ben Simmons has technically only played 4 years in the league because he missed his rookie year because of a foot injury. He has not played this year. And for Ben Simmons, he's basically stayed the same offensively and somewhat flatlined, maybe even regressed if you go back and look at his highlights from the NBA Summer League after he was selected atop the draft out of LSU. Defensively, though, he has become arguably the best defender in the league, runner-up in Defensive Player of the Year last year, and his growth on that end of the floor has been clearly obvious. But you take a look at the offensive numbers. In his rookie year, Ben Simmons, 15.8 points per game, little more than 8 rebounds and 8 assists. He shot 54.5% from the field, 56% from the free throw line. As for what Simmons did last year, the points per game went down because he made some offensive sacrifices with the growth of Joel Embiid, who finished second in MVP voting. His rebounds went down. His assists went down. Again, this is a byproduct of the Sixers being a better, more all-around team last year. His field goal percentage went up just a bit, and his free throw percentage did go up in the regular season, but in the playoffs against the Atlanta Hawks, he shot in the low 30 percentile from the charity stripe. As for Jaylen Brown, he has been one of the fastest growing two-way superstars in the NBA. Nobody other than really Giannis Antetokounmpo has put in as much work in growing his offensive arsenal as Jaylen Brown, and the growth that you have seen from his rookie year to year 6 has truly been incredible. Jaylen Brown has been in the lab. Ben Simmons has enjoyed being a celebrity basketball player. Jaylen Brown in his rookie year, these splits are crazy. 6.5 points per game, less than 3 rebounds. He shot 45% from the deck, 34% from 3, and he was a 68.5 free throw shooter. As for year 6 this year, he had a career year last year. He's been even better in year 6, although that hasn't translated to wins in the early going for the Boston Celtics. From 6.5 points per game to 25.5. From 2.8 boards to 6.1. The field goal percentage has gone up from 45 plus to 49 plus. The three-point percentage has gone up basically almost 6 percentage points, which is crazy. Jaylen Brown actually attempting threes, not scared to shoot it like Ben Simmons. He's shooting around 40% from beyond the arc, and his free throw percentage has also improved. Here's the deal with both Simmons and Jaylen Brown. You can't make the argument that Jaylen Brown is not the better offensive player. He's the better scorer. He's much more dangerous off the dribble. Ben Simmons on the offensive end, his advantage there is his size, it's his athleticism, it's his truly special passing vision, both in the half court as well as in the open floor. You see flashes of Magic Johnson from Ben Simmons. The problem is defenders sag off him, which really affects his offensive game and the team's offensive game. Both guys, though, are elite defenders. I thought last year Ben Simmons should have won Defensive Player of the Year over Rudy Gobert, and I thought Jaylen Brown was one of the best, if not the best, two-way players in the NBA. As for Celtics fans watching right now, they're like, why the hell would the Boston Celtics ever trade away Jaylen Brown for Ben Simmons when Jaylen Brown has proven he cares about the game of basketball more? He's made more strides offensively. While they're about equal defensively, there's no question in my eyes that Jaylen Brown is the better player. It's because there are some questions now about the relationship on the floor between Jason Tatum as well as Jaylen Brown, and this is now back-to-back seasons in which the Celtics have played very stagnant, confusing, confounding basketball, and you're now looking at a situation where people are wondering and questioning if the Jaylen Brown-Jason Tatum tandem can work. Now, the Philadelphia 76ers, even without the services of Ben Simmons, have not really missed him this year. They are atop the Eastern Conference through 10 games with an 8-2 record, followed by the Miami Heat, the Brooklyn Nets, Washington Wizards, and Chicago Bulls. After that, it starts to get really close, and this goes to show you the depth of the Eastern Conference right now. Cavs, Knicks, Raptors, Hornets, Bucks in those 6 through 10 spots, and now you look at the Boston Celtics at 4-6. Offensively, they've really been up and down, and when you watch them play, it gets clunky. Their style of play becomes a little bit maddening, and when you have two wings with similar games in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, that's why some of these questions surface about the on-court fit between both of these guys. Also, Marcus Smart had basically dished both Tatum and Brown about their offensive styles and roles within the offense, basically saying that they're both ball hogs, and there's a little bit of a contentious relationship going on from the players to the coaching staff to the front office. So is Brad Stevens looking at this situation saying, we got to break this tandem apart, and if we do that, we want to get a great player back. We think that Ben Simmons can be a great player, and because he's more of a pass-first guy, maybe he's a better fit alongside Jason Tatum. So, once again, got to plug the competition going on here on the basketball floor between the cities here on the East Coast and at Chat Sports, between 76ers Now and Boston Celtics Today. Both are newer channels. We launched 76ers Now over the summer, north of 2,100 subscribers. Boston Celtics Today closing in on 8,000 subscribers. Can the Sixers and Philly rally to close the gap on Boston? Head to youtube.com/CelticsTV to subscribe for more Celtics news and rumors videos. Head to youtube.com/76erstv to subscribe for more Sixers coverage. Here's my mock trade that's really, really simple. And according to ESPN's trade machine, this trade financially would work. It's a player-for-player swap, Jaylen Brown for Ben Simmons. I think that Boston would be crazy to give up Jaylen Brown for only Ben Simmons. I think you want to have more players in that equation, and we'll take a look at the Sixers' player assets coming up here in just a few moments. But first, who would win this trade if it's just a player-for-player deal? Kind of like what Shams Charania had indicated. Type PHI for the Sixers, BOS for the Boston Celtics. Get those votes in down below in the comment section and interact with us. As for Ben Simmons' contract, the reason why this trade could potentially work is because his contract matches up pretty evenly with Jaylen Brown's over time. This year, he's due $33 million in base salary. Next year, that goes up to $35.4. Following year, in 23-24, $37.8. And in 2024-2025, it blossoms up to $40 million. Then he becomes an unrestricted free agent in 2025 at the age of 29 years old. Some might be looking at that salary saying, that's a fat base salary. Yes, but here's the advantage. He's under club control until 2025 in that offseason. As for Jaylen Brown's contract, maybe better value considering the player that he is, because I think he's better than Ben Simmons because he has more value nowadays. This year, 24.8. Next year, 26.6. Following year after that in 23-24, $28.5 million. And you're looking at a scenario in which Ben Simmons becomes a free agent in his late 20s. Jaylen Brown also becomes a free agent in his late 20s. Both guys under club control. That's why Philly and Boston are probably both intrigued by this trade idea, according to Shams. Other Sixers trade assets that, if I am Brad Stevens, I would ask for these players, at least one of them back. Tyrese Maxey, second-year guard out of Kentucky. I think he has boatloads of potential. I think he can easily be a 15 to 20 points per game guy. He can score at all three levels. Very crafty, very smart as a point guard. He's also a really good defender. As for Matisse Thybulle, yeah, he's only averaging 5 points per game, but he's one of the most elite wing defenders in the league. And if he continues to develop a three-point shot, his value also increases. There's no doubt that the Celtics have been in need of a big man over the last couple of years. Yes, they brought in Al Horford. Yes, they signed Robert Williams to that contract extension. Could they be lured to make a trade that would bring back Andre Drummond, who, yes, he's only averaging 6 points per game, but throughout his career, he has shown that he can be like a 15 points, 15 rebounds per night guy. George Niang has been one of the most undervalued NBA free agency contracts throughout the NBA offseason in the early going of the season. He's shooting around 40% from three. He's a stretch big who gives you a big body defensively as well. And then Shake Milton, the SMU product, has done a great job of kind of growing his offensive arsenal over the last couple of years. He's averaging around 12 points per game. When he goes on a heater, he can be a good bench scorer, and I think he's better than a Romeo Langford or an Aaron Nesmith coming in off the bench for Boston if he wanted to include him in that trade. So before we get out of here, I do want to ask you this, because I know a lot of people are fired up about this on Boston Celtics Today and 76ers Now. What would you include in a Simmons for Brown trade? Meaning, which players would you include? Maybe even draft capital. Give me some trade proposals in the comment section right now. And also, give me a follow on Twitter at Chase_Senior. I cover the NBA here at Chat Sports. I know I host a bunch of different shows covering the NFL, NBA, Celtics, Sixers, everything. So if you have any questions about what we do here at Chat Sports, any questions about these NBA trade rumors, or you need some life advice, hit me up. Can't wait to interact with all of you.